We frequently get asked if home sellers should update their home before they sell. I'm Lauren, and this is the one and only Raul with the Schrader Group, and today we are going to be going through some tips if you should update your home before you sell.
So my role here at the Schrader Group is to be the listing specialist, and my job is to go into people's homes and figure out where we need to put $1. And what I mean by that is, if we don't put $1 in to make $1 or $2, then I don't want to put that money in that place. So yes, there's certain things that need to be taken care of, all the way from, maybe the kiddos are putting face prints or handprints all over the walls, to a little puppy that's chewing up the carpet. I mean, there's a lot of little things that buyers get set off by. Mm-hmm. My job's to go through and kind of evaluate the property and see what we need to do. And then from top priority all the way down, we kind of write down a list and see what we need to do to get there. And a lot of times it's based off of math, but we see what the budget is, or hey, if we put $4,000 into it, we might yield back $6,000 or $9,000. So it's just about trying to go both ways and figure out what we need to do to get the house market ready.
And that's good too, because people probably get very used to like just how they live and not
Absolutely.
Recognizing if their kids' fingerprints or dogs chewing up the carpet.
Absolutely.
They just walk by it autopilot. And
exactly.
So that's good to have a third party come in and give them some advice. So where would you get the most bang for your buck if you were needing to update your home?
Well, it depends. So number one, we're going to look at the age of the home, right? Because there's some things that might be dated. There's some things that might be out of code, mm-hmm. right? So I know what to look for. Like, for example, with water heaters. Now the code is you have to have an expansion tank on top. And if you have a PRV valve, you got to have that out on the curb if you have irrigation systems. So if they have irrigation and they don't have a PRV or a pressure release tank, there's a good chance that the plumber or the inspector is going to plumb out and say, hey, we need to get that fixed. So one little item, get a handy guy in there to take care of that. That's pretty easy. Some other items are like paint.
Yes, I think paint makes a huge difference.
Crazy difference.
And it's not that expensive.
No, and especially with the trades that we use, we could definitely get in there and make that dollar go a long way.
Would you give them a paint color recommendation?
I go agreeable gray all day. Why?
That's a good one.
Because it works. Most new houses go with it, and we dance in the new home world a lot, so we're able to get the trends and see what's going on. But agreeable gray, whether it's dark outside, light inside, it just changes, but it looks good. It goes with almost every color. That's, I guess, why they call it agreeable. But no, that's definitely one of those. And then we look at the flooring, right? The flooring is going to be the item that I always kind of put eyes on, because carpet matters, right? And it's probably the cheapest thing we can do in a house to get a big bang. When people see fresh carpet, they're not thinking about all the stains, they're not thinking about all the stuff that might have happened, what's inside, all the allergens, all the debris, all the that we don't want to deal with. So sometimes we could get in there for, very, very cheap. I could do a 2,000 square foot house probably for like $1,800 and get that really fresh. Where if we didn't do that, we'd be hit up, or maybe someone would walk in and just feel like the house isn't valued where it needs to be because of those certain areas. Now, as far as remodeling, I'm not going to tell you to go put LVP, let's do a tile job, all that good stuff. I'd rather put money where it's going to be best utilized. Mm-hmm. That way we're able to pull it all together.
That's great. That's why you need an expert, right?
Got that right.
Yes. So are there certain rooms you should pay more attention to than others?
Yeah, hands down, it's always going to be your kitchen and master, in my opinion. When we look at...
the heart of the home, right?
Oh, well, we got to figure out where you're going to spend most of your time. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where it all kind of comes to play. Especially if you have a family, you're always going to be in the kitchen, so you want to make sure that checks all the boxes. Sometimes we see, I walk in a house and there's drawers that aren't working or doors that are falling off of the cabinets, and they're little fixes, but they just never thought about doing them, right? So there's little things that we do to get ahead of the game. We have great technicians, we have great trades that come in and help us out to get us prep ready, is what I like to call it, because when we go on the market, we have one opportunity to make a first impression, and these are some of the things that we do to just help our clients out. Tell me about deferred maintenance. Yeah, so that's probably the most overlooked thing that sellers pay attention to, but it's the number one thing that buyers pay attention to. Okay, so what that basically means is, how often are you, if you're the seller, how often are you guys taking care of your home and putting more dollars back into your home, changing your air filters, right? Making sure that everything's working, caulking around the bathrooms, bathtubs, around windows, things like that. Because what ends up happening is, most people say that if I walk into a home and the deferred maintenance isn't there, well, maybe the appliances are going to be pretty bad. Maybe the other things of the house are going to be kind of on their last leg. So we always do the little stuff. And when we're talking about some of the flooring, paint, some of the cosmetic, if you will, deferred maintenance is the one that scares people the most, because it's little things that can happen over the years, but it's also things that if we stay on top as sellers, then it's something that makes your house look more pristine.
Absolutely.
The littlest things, from baseboards, wiping down fan blades, and one of the things that gets me all the time is you go into a house and you see dust on the registers of the AC vents. I mean, just a vacuum and cleaning those up, or unscrewing them and spray painting them. Because sometimes we're in a bathroom where there's a lot of humidity, and just because there's not a whole bunch of ventilation, but then those registers start to develop rust, not because there's an active leak, but just there's a lot of humidity, and metal and humidity create rust. Little things like that, wiping down counters and unscrewing some things, getting some of that calcium out. All those little things are signs of how healthy the house is.
Yes, you want a good first impression.
Absolutely.
And you know what I think too is the smell.
Yep.
Right? You always want to make sure it smells welcoming and good.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always say, they're like, well, what should we do? How do we leave the house when we're ready to go? And I'm like, look, act like your boss is coming over or you're having a party here. However you would leave it like that is the way I want it all the time. And typically that'll get us across the finish line.
So if you were to have $5,000 to $10,000, I know you've touched on a lot. I give you my budget, $5,000 to $10,000. Final statements, how would you tell me to spend varied on,
Okay,
best ways to use
so
it?
that's a loaded question because we don't know how old the house is. We don't know what we're looking at. But if I had a budget, and let's just say the house is within 5 years, I would definitely say let's make sure our landscaping is looking good because curb appeal is very big. And that's something.
First impression when you drive up.
And that's something that's really simple. We could get, black mulch, put it over the beds, put a little bit of color pop in there, a little greens, a little reds, just to give it a little bit of life. That doesn't take very much. It's a little bit of labor intensive, but it doesn't take very much. Then I would go inside and look at what's going on. If you have carpets that are more than 3 to 5 years old and you have foot traffic of 3 to 4 people in the house, more than likely you're going to see the fibers on the carpet start to wear. When they start to wear, you start to get these traffic lines. Not that they're dirty, but the buyer's going to think that they're dirty.
Right.
I would rather put that money in getting fresh carpets because then you don't have to worry about what was there. And then as we trickle down, maybe we look at what's going on. Are the baseboards kind of, scratched up from the mop or the broom over time? Do they look a little dingy? Let's put some fresh white, pure white on there, make it pop. Front doors. I think the front doors are a big thing. We need to make sure that looks fresh. That way when you walk in, it looks great. And then deferred. Just go around caulking the house and making sure everything looks good because we need to make sure when I go into a house, there's a couple things that we look for. FHA and VA are pretty strict as far as lending requirements. So if we have tree limbs within 3 feet of the house, we're going to have to cut it. I already know we're going to have to cut it. So I tell them to cut it already. If we have any kind of bushes touching the house, we got to cut them back and make sure that they're not touching. Any kind of wood rot around the house, like, around the window trims, around door trims, garage doors, like, the trim out there, that has to be addressed because that's going to be a required item. So I'd rather put the money there. That way, that's one less thing that's going to pop up on the inspection report, which makes us be in a better position to negotiate when we have to.
Yes. And so do you have anyone that you can refer to or recommend for those?
Oh, absolutely. We have a long list of trades that we've been working with for many, many years. We keep them extremely busy. We've been very blessed to have a lot of business. So with that being said, we keep them so busy that they're able to give not necessarily discounts, but they're able to do a lot more for less because they're our repeat.
That's good. And it makes it easier for the sellers too, not trying to scramble.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It makes it a lot more simpler. And 9 times out of 10, our guys are way better and more affordable than most.
Nice. Well, thank you.
Absolutely. It was a
you
pleasure.
are full of information. Well, in closing, we hope we have provided y'all with some helpful tips when selling your home, and subscribe to our channel and reach out if you have any questions.